What's up guys, Bobobo here with another review. Today we have episode 3 of Hawkeye that just came out, and I'm curious to see what happens to Hawkeye and Kate being tied up by the tracksuits. There's also Jack the Swordsman, and we are also introduced to Echo at the very end of episode 2, so it will be interesting to see how they follow up on that. And guys, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch that and then come back here. And if you haven't seen my previous review, click right here to do that. All right, let's get into it. And right off the bat, the tone of the intro, even before the Hawkeye logo comes up, is just so different. No music, almost silent, to portray how Echo perceives the world. In the comics, she is a Native American character that is born deaf, and she not only has ties to Ronin, but also to Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. Could this finally be the tie-in that we are looking for between the MCU and the Netflix shows? Anyway, so immediately I have to commend Marvel for their casting here in regards to inclusivity and access for audiences of all backgrounds. Not only is Alaqua Cox, the actor who is portraying Echo, a Native American, she is also born deaf and who is also an amputee with a prosthetic leg. I know that in recent years especially, there's a lot of debate whether to cast actors as much as possible that have the same physical similarities and ethnic backgrounds as the characters. And she is actually getting her own show called Echo that will come out sometimes after Hawkeye. So this is definitely a character that we should look out for. So getting back to the episode, here we get a glimpse of her uncle who is dressed in a suit that comes to pick her up. Another Kingpin appearance maybe? Could this be Wilson Fisk? Because they make it really mysterious and doesn't actually show his face. We also learned that her father was killed by Ronin when he was on his rampage. We then cut back to Kate and Hawkeye, and we actually see the usual Marvel comedy here. They are still tied up here, but making sarcastic jokes. Because them and us knowing full well that nothing is really gonna happen to them, being the main characters, Echo comes out and sees that Hawkeye has a hearing aid too. Probably due to what his battle traumas caused to his hearing from before. And this theme of disabilities actually pervades throughout the entire episode, highlighting how they deal with it and how it causes all sorts of different problems for them and those that are close to them. I think this might also allude to him retiring from the Avengers and passing on the torch to a younger generation. So without speaking, you can tell that Echo and Hawkeye already have this bond through their similarities and disabilities. She actually mentions that he might be better off without a hearing aid. And he looks right at Kate and says, yeah, he might be right. This is funny in that Kate never stops talking. And so he's implying that he finally does not have to hear her talk anymore, but also alludes to the actual debate and differences of opinion in the deaf community in our world, whether to use these hearing aids or not. Clint then tells Echo that Ronin is dead and that Black Widow was the one who got to him. They actually managed to escape through an action scene, and it's great to finally see Hawkeye back in action with his bow skills here. But there are some awkward cuts in the editing here and there, which I found kind of weird. It's hilarious as they drive off and Kate uses all of Clint's trick arrows with all these weird effects. And the pin arrow was really cool. So we do see the beginning of the character arc that I talked about last episode for Hawkeye. He says that he's not a role model, but I imagine that he will become one by the end of this show as he's getting ready to retire. And we again get a very cliffhanger ending here with them sneaking into Jack's house, but Hawkeye gets held at gunpoint, or sword point, with Jack holding his own Ronin sword. Overall, this is much more of a setup episode as they try to tie up all their evidence to see the bigger picture of what's happening with the plot. But it does seem a bit unrelated because the connection from the Ronin suit to the Armand murder is not as tight as I would like it to be. The episode in terms of story is a bit meh to me as well this week, but in terms of its message for accessibility, which this episode really highlighted, I really loved. Especially it's not just some random thing that they put in, but it actually has actual ties to the overall plot and how I think Hawkeye will pass the mantle to Kate and maybe even Echo. We are also starting to see some hints towards maybe Kingpin showing up. The last thing I will say is hopefully the next episode has more plot development, and I'm still wondering when Florence Pugh from Black Widow will show up. Okay, that's it for episode 3. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. And as always guys, please be sure to like the video and go ahead and leave a comment on your thoughts down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing as it really helps bring more people to our discussion. Thanks, and have a great day.